Certainly Popeye would most certainly wish for this evening. In fact, I'm sure that he'd be most embarrassed indeed to know that so many people are here for him on this very special occasion. And indeed, may I just say on a personal level that you know, I've lived around here for a long time, and to see so many different people here for a very special man says it all. And let's just leave it at that. I know he'd be very embarrassed indeed to be here if he was, and all the fuss, whatever. But Lindy asked me just to share with you a few personal memories about her dad, and thoughts about him, where he came from, and all the things he got up to. Some of which you won't know. But when I've finished speaking, perhaps some of you would just like to stand up and contribute and to what the occasion is, because this is very, very informal. We all know that he was indeed quite a character. I hate that word character. I think the word legend is actually more appropriate for Ron, because for me, I have to say, he was always part of my childhood around here. I mean, I'm now 60, God help me, but I remember like 15, 20 years ago, he was always round. What do you mean I don't look at you, lying bastard?
I said you're a boy.
Oh, well, thanks very much. But there's lots of things about him you don't know, to keep it quite brief. I mean, he was actually a man who was born in 1932, isn't that right?
That is right.
In London, in Soho, at a time when London was actually a very poor place. He had his brother called Ken, who he used to boast about, because of course his surname was Everett. So he used to say, my brother is Kenny Everett. And of course everyone looked at him and tried to examine to see whether there was any physical semblance, which there wasn't, of course. But he used to, with those lovely twinkling eyes, he used to make it sort of play on. I mean, but they were like a couple of sewer rats, you didn't.
They were,
yes. In London, ducking and diving under the barriers and whatever. And what his brother used to do was that if they wanted to get past onto a train and not pay any money, his older brother would make Ron cry.
Get him to cry, yeah.
So he'd run up to the barriers, and the poor man, the guy at the barriers, meant to take their money, would say, oh right, okay, pass on, so they got home. And of course, his dad, Ted, would work for the water board. Of course, with the war coming up, it was a reserved occupation, so he actually didn't get called up for the war, and was left really to look after the children. Is that right?
Yeah.
Lindy? He was actually quite an active young man growing up, as I say, in central London, and he also used to get involved with all sort of hide and seek things. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Can you explain or develop that a little bit?
Well, they would, I mean, in their exploits on the underground, if you were passing any payphones, press the coin return button in case there was any money to come out. Penny for the grotto. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember the grotto, but you would get a tray and put flowers and things on it, and anything that was to be making a few pennies and a bit of money for sweets. And then, as I say, come the end of the day, I'd paddle in the Thames and put on a few tears for the bus conductor to get home, because they'd spent their money on their sweets. So it was, any trip to be had, they were in on it.
And from those early years, Lindy? I mean, what happened with Dad? I mean, he sort of went into various careers, didn't he?
He did, yeah. They had their fun with the youth club,
Yes.
which is where his performing started. Really, they would get a group together, which there are photos on the board of their early days at the youth club, which then led on to the Five in Harmony, which they won various talent shows on.
Five in Harmony was actually, I googled it actually.
Did you?
And it's there.
Right.
It's a really well-known established, well I say well-known established.
I don't think that's the right one. I don't think that's the right one.
Okay.
It might be a different one, but
it's a
anyway,
different
that's what they started in with their winning their talent competitions and things.
And also he went on to, this is really, I've just shown this young man here about the fours, the
Fraser Hayes
the
four.
Fraser four.
The Fraser Hayes
The
four.
Fraser Hayes four.
Yeah.
How many of you remember Round the Horn? Listening to on right, okay, the Fraser four, the Fraser, I'll never get it right.
Fraser Hayes for.
I've had too many whiskies today. The Fraser, they actually were the accompanying band,
group.
weren't they? And if you listen to Round the Horn, they always got a credit at the end of the show. And indeed, your dad was one of
them. For a while, they had various lineups, but for a while he was part of that.
And that
yes.
was broadcast, wasn't it?
It was.
Live or recorded?
Yes,
Whatever.
We did have a record, but it disintegrated because in those days they weren't made of plastic vinyl, so they were made of sort of acetate type stuff, and unfortunately it all turned to dust.
But what I'm asking you is, when Round the Horn, when we used to hear it
Yes.
on the radio, were they playing live?
I don't know.
No, they were recorded.
Was it live?
They were, weren't they?
Yeah.
And it's repeated now on Radio 4 Extra.
Yeah.
They're still running them. Yeah.
One of the most fantastic, outrageous shows, which certainly suited
Kenneth
your
Williams.
dad's
Oh, yeah.
Kenneth Williams. I can remember Kenneth Williams on saying, I must just digress here, he was on just a minute. And Kenneth Williams was given the, you've got to speak for 20 a minute without digressing or repeating yourself.
No ers or
Yeah,
ms
absolutely.
or- yeah.
He said, your subject is limericks, Nicholas Parsons told him. He said, there was an old puss from cartoon took a lesbian up to his room and they argued all night who would do with what and with what and with
To who?
and Kenneth Williams here, great character. Anyway, after he did all that, I mean, what happened there?
So he went into, whilst they were performing and sort of gigging in nightclubs in and around London in the evening,
Yes.
they all had their day jobs. So Dad was landscape gardening, which he did for various celebrities actually around, because this was Richmond, Wimbledon. So Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Larry Adler, and a few others that I've forgotten. The trouble is when you hear the same story 1,000 times, you switch off and then you can't recall it when he's not there to ask anymore. But yes, so he carried on with the gardening and got married to his first wife Jean, and sort of came away from the performing arts and carried on with a bit more of a normal existence for a while.
But of course, he also, with his gardening life, I mean, that's what started his interest in nature.
It is,
wasn't
yes,
it? 'Cause,
yeah.
I mean, we always remember him down here
Yeah.
about even the little joke about the little duck running up about his arm, you know.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
Ducky.
Oh, there we go. Oh, what are you doing, bless?
Ducky.
I mean, that he was very. But he was evacuated to Wales, wasn't
He was evacuated to Wales,
that's where it started,
and
his,
he loved it, absolutely loved it, and learned so much from the countryside people
Yeah.
about plants, insects, animals, everything. He had a massive respect for wildlife and of every description. And it's a shame he didn't get to work with animals really, because he had a magic touch, and any of you who have a dog will know that you could not get past my dad with a dog without being made to stop so that the dog could lick his face all over. It was compulsory if there was a dog in the vicinity.
He was very good with my dog, and my dog is the most difficult dog.
Oh no, he was a proper dog whisperer really. Yeah, he loved animals.
And also, it came down to Hastings. Why and for what reason?
Came down to Hastings, well, they used to come down at like a lot of Londoners for the day as a family, and enjoyed it and liked it here, and decided to make the move down with Jean, and Dad initially was at Canberra and Frenchman's Beach Caravan Park.
Yes.
and ran the bingo, ran the bar, and there he met who was to become his business partner, Pip Gant. And they opened, well, before it was the Trading Post, it was a greengrocers called Cabbages and Kings, and then they turned it into the Trading Post, and it was them that started that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then when he came away from that, he was the bingo caller at the Delu for some time.
Lindy?
Yeah, when it first opened. Yeah.
Lindy?
Yes.
When did he come to Hastings?
Oh, crumbs. We'd be talking green, late 50s.
It's got to be late 50s.
Late 50s, I think, yeah.
Because I got to know him in the late.
Robert, how did he got involved with Morgan Trades?
Oh, yeah, all about it. Before that, I've known Ron, they've been on for 50 years.
But he continually engaged with Morgan Trades.
Well, when he went back to his landscape gardening, he would get his materials from Morgan's builders
He brought that
merchant,
skill to Hastings.
and that's how he met.
And he used us
Yeah.
as a landscape garden, supplying slabs, etc., as his supplier, and that's how we got to know him.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was doing Popeye then.
No, he only could do Popeye because his dad could do it.
Took the lower teeth, wasn't it?
Because they didn't have any back teeth. And he used to do Popeye when he was in the Royal Naval Auxiliary Service, when they would have Navy days where the ships were open to the general public to come on and have pride and to entertain the kids like that. I mean, that's what he lived for, was to make the kids laugh. And he would do it then, and so when the opportunity came up to get involved with Carnival with Morgan's, the obvious thing for him to do was Popeye, and that's how that craziness started and became from a once a year thing in his latter years. I mean, it was even if he went out in what he would call mufti, people would say, "All right, Popeye, these people know who I am without the outfit on." You know, it became a full-time occupation, really, quite by chance.
Now, I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, a very good story about Dad. He was often told by foreigners that they seen pictures of him back in their home country, even as far away as Brazil. And a couple of years ago, we were visiting Alfie's mum. That's your fella.
Yes.
Your fella's mum. Where's Alfie?
There.
In Turkey, and we went to a market in the middle of nowhere. One of the stalls was selling T-shirts, and what did we see hanging up but a shirt with Dad's face on it? So he was indeed a global phenomenon.
Yeah, we did. We bought it.
Why the hell didn't he sort of market? You know,
You should have charged them. I should have charged him.
The one thing I have to say about your dad, if I might, I didn't know him very well at all, I mean, but I like all of us, I think he's just a wonderful, constant person. Shrewd, clever, nice, wise, and those wonderful sparkling eyes.
I know, yeah.
I mean, they engaged anyone that looked at him.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually felt quite intimidated because I knew he could look straight through me. Seriously, I mean, there's a genuinely good man, and I suppose really part of his generation. I know it's a cliche. Hopefully, the next generation to go on and invite those sort of quality people. But he was a great guy, and never be forgotten.
No.
And I hate the word character and personality. Yeah, great. And if that statue happens, or that whatever it
The
is.
memorial, yes, indeed.
Oh, by the way, you might like to know on that note, before I finish briefly, there is actually a statue of Popeye, not your Popeye,
No.
but it is in a village in Spain. I looked it up, I googled it, and it's a simple figure there put there after he was the first character for the industry, simply because the village actually earns its growth out of spinach. If you Google it, simply.
Well, had he known that, I'm
Just put
sure he would have
Popeye's
claimed
spinach.
credit for it in every conversation that he had.
There's a little spinach in a little sort of statue in Spain, which is denoted to their village because they earn their living out of spinach. Anyone else going to contribute?
Thank you, Jonathan.
Oh yes, by the way, before you all go, there's, please, donations for this lovely contribution for,
Yeah, the Memorial Fund. We're really close
on the
now.
bar, so just
Yeah.
finish there, look, yeah, finish it. I mean, it's not a lot, we can all raise this, for God's sake, you know, a couple of months.
We're very close to our target, so yeah.
Where are we with our target?
1,500 at least.
What, 1,500?
Yeah,
We want
we've got
10,000.
500 to go.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
No, we've got less than that.
Oh, have we? Right,
Now,
okay.
let's clear up what we think it's going to be. It's going to be a little image on a...
Are we allowed to say
Harris,
or
can I
is
say?
it? This is the lady here.
Harris is the
Harris is
fourth
the lady.
of all these things. You don't argue with Harris.
There you go. Have a quick look at it. Keep it secret though, because we have to get the planning permit.
Designed by Lee Dyer.
Lee Dyer, yeah.
Lee
Oh,
Dyer.
Yeah, thank
Fantastic.
Now this little friend's up for auction. Now, anybody who wants this little friend, I'll start off at 20 quid. So come on, someone's going to want it for £20.
20 quid.
There you go, 20 over there. Any advances on 20? Come on! 21. Come on! 21. 21 there. Any more? Come on! Come on! This is 60, 70 quid's worth. Come on now! And he'll stay up for 2 to 3 weeks.
3
months. Anybody else?
It should stay up for 3 months.
24, 40, 40? 40 there. Any more for any more? Come on now. I'm going to take the 40 if you don't come back to me. I'm very much appreciative. Jesus Christ. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, I'll take it for you.
Everyone, we've just got. Do you want to explain to everyone what's?
About a year and a half ago, I approached Ron. I'm a local filmmaker, and just keeping it short, this is just a short film I made about Ron and just how I kind of saw him in the old town.
I mean, you can imagine he would have been very backward in coming forward to speak on camera. It took a lot of arm twisting, I can imagine. Not.